Hey, Johannes here. Today we're gonna talk about how I got 6 thunderfury bindings and how many I saw in total in 2 years of Classic WoW. For what price have I sold bindings in my GDKP raids? How many will I try to get in Season of Mastery? You'll find out in this video. Let's dive right in. How it all started. I started with making the guild the Molten Core. We did not have enough people for week 3 release raid, so we pucked that week. The 4th week we actually had to bench people and we started on Wednesday night. Some were so mad that they G-quit on the spot. Keep in mind, I was not that skilled at that point in organizing of a raid. It was my first time and I did not post a roster beforehand. The run was really fun. We had some players that had farmed rep for Molten Core so we could spawn Major Domo and Ragnaros as well. I was clear to everyone I really wanted Thunderfury, and on our first ever guild raid we had the first part. The Baron binding had dropped. I was amazed. I thought, whoa, this is gonna be easy and we will be able to get our warriors many of them. Well, guess again, it was not gonna be that easy. The bindings each have a 3% drop rate and it does not happen often that you see one in Season of Mastery or Classic. That's why every time you do, it's very memorable. Soon after my main warrior got to 60, I started leveling a second warrior. I wanted to tank in 2 raid rosters, so we always had a reliable main tank. About 2 months later it was all geared and ready for Molten Core. Started hosting on Sunday evening. During this time I could just make the group midday and I would put their names on my notepad. This is before we had raid helper with signups. After invite started we would get on Discord and blast it out. I remember clearing just 5 bosses the first week. I was not satisfied. But people were. For a lot it was their first MC. The next week we had cleared till Major Domo. And then the 3rd week we cleared it. The 5th week of hosting, some guildies started already having alts and recruiting kept going swimmingly. It happened. My second Baron binding dropped. Everyone was baffled. Another one so early. I thought to myself, well, now I will have 2 chances a week to get the Gar binding. This will be great. I will have my thunderfury soon enough. Fast forward to BBL MC raid days and my off-tank Slask got a Baron binding at the time in raid 1. She was very happy and so was everyone else. We had just gotten another binding, but it was becoming a bit of a meme that only Baron binding was dropping. After about a month it happened again, another Baron binding, this time in raid 2. Nobody really wanted it as they knew they had to wait for me to get the first one in either raid. Elowin, our off tank at the time, said he would take it, and it is of course a tanking weapon, so we thought why not. He had sadly quit the game 2 weeks after he got it, but was a loyal guild member since the start of Classic, weekly attending raid 2. A bit later I wanted to expand the guild and set it up a guild bug with a few guildies. We had a separate raid leader for this and he did quite a decent job. They were weekly clearing MC and in no time they were weekly clearing PVL plus MC. This raid leader was called Morgan and he was playing a Shadow Priest in the main raid. He leveled a warrior with a friend of his and raided together. His friend would main tank it and he would raid lead it and off tank. I would join here and there with my hunter when I got it up till level 60. They both wanted the Thunderfury and Captain Morgan let his friend have the first one. About 5 weeks into me joining it happened, yes you can guess it, another Baron binding. We are sitting now at 5 Baron bindings inside the guild. I did not enjoy playing my hunter anymore, so I started leveling another warrior, as I just really liked the class in Classic. At the same time I was talking to Joey from Munchies, and he was saying that he needed a good tank for his Molten Core part. He had Thunderfury himself and their GM had one as well. They felt for me, as Joey discussed a bit with his GM and said if I were to main tank the run steady on Saturday evenings, they would hard reserve the bindings for me. Told him that would be amazing, but that with AQ40 coming up later, that I might not have enough time. But until then, I was his. I pumped hard and tried to get to 60 before the next Saturday. I got to 59 and off-tanked the raid a bit and got so much loot it was crazy. I think I got around 9 epics in one raid. Tier 2 pants, both BOE tier 1 set pieces, normal tier 1 pieces, 2-hander for PvP, a shield from Baron, it was just crazy. The next week I was fully prepared, had my world buffs and consumes ready and pumped hard. There, it happened. A binding dropped. My whole guild was memeing around this time that I would get it first on my 3rd warrior named Lil Johannes. It was another Baron binding. We had 6 Baron bindings in the guild and 3 of them were mine. I got it on my second week of Molten Core, just like with my main, as I had pucked the first week of Classic. A few raids later, a sulfurous hammer had dropped. I rolled with 8 others and won that. This was my first legendary, and no one in the guild still had one at this point. It felt great, but it was not a thunderfury. Now I'm thinking, okay, 3 times a chance per week is doable, right? Or even 4 for the guild with the bug we were hosting. Still, no luck. Till my guild started to fall apart. Leadership wanted different things and we ended up calling it a day. On that day, a Saturday, I was still gonna tank the Munchies bug. Joey had asked me, are you sure you want to raid now, Johannes? Like your guild just disbanded and I don't want to force you to do anything. Joey was great. I told him no, I would still raid and be there for him, as I said I would. That was a decision that made one of the bad days in WoW one of the greatest that I will forever remember. In that raid, the Gar binding had dropped. I still wish I had the reaction of myself recorded. Would have been great for these Season of Mastery videos. I was a bit emotional, but overall I was proud. I had finally gotten the thunderfury, the weapon I had been chasing for an entire year. Quickly after the raid, I got the mats ready and we got to the thunderfury boss, and many helped to kill it. I told everyone I'd give 1k to someone in the raid and I would raid roll it, 1 out of 40. While doing this, someone actually traded me that was not the actual winner and I got scammed. The person that won came on Discord, provided proof it was not him, so I gave the rightful winner his 1k. After a few days of thinking over what to do with the guild, we merged with the guild Baboons and I made our pug alt raid into Johannes pugs. I felt amazing at this point. My personal goal, I said I had achieved it. Was proud of myself and I was thinking, what is next? I wanted to complete my other thunderfuries, so I started in the pugs having that Gar binding on hard reserve. After 5 weeks we had done it and another Gar binding dropped. Never have I ever mastered an item that fast to myself before. I achieved it again. I was overjoyed and now my pug had the thunderfury proc. The thunderfury proc is also going to be so important in Season of Mastery. It's just a very good debuff in general. Make sure to check out my free ebook. It's just a page you can open on the website, so you don't end up wasting any time in the wrong guild in Season of Mastery. Let's get back to the video. During this time I leveled a mage to 60 and was sometimes playing in a pug on the server called Kirk Pug. It was hosted on Thursdays and he was the only one hosting this day, so rarely he missed people. He was a chill, funny guy that was into making gold as well. He, for example, hard reserved all BOE set items in his Molten Core raids. Kirk was missing a Gar binding, and this binding would drop consistently in Goon's main raids, where he was an officer at the time. Goons would ask me for my raid ID a lot for their thunderfuries, as a joke, because they needed those Baron bindings. Their main tank, Rocky, did not have a thunderfury. The Baron binding for them would just never drop, same state as us back then, but then with the Gar binding. He eventually got it though, in phase 6 of Naxxramas. During this pug, we came to Gar, and were memeing Kirk about the binding. It had dropped. I wished Kirk grats and was happy he finally got it after hosting the pugs for a while. He quit shortly after in AQ40, he did not enjoy the game anymore. Then on to the pug bindings. My Friday BBMC was quite competitive and almost every week we would clear it faster. In this raid, Gar binding was still hard reserved for my third warrior, as I may as well complete that one. The Baron was open to roll for consistent off tanks. Tsubaki and Eterna were both doing that. They would be in my AQ40s and BBL MCs weekly. Hard bumpers and great people. I still talk to Tsubaki every once in a while and we were talking about giving New World a try. The day came. Tsubaki had won Drakefang Talisman in Blackwing Lair. We continued to Molten Core after and were joking of Baron binding now dropping and him wanting that as well and what he would pick. Then it actually happened. We had a Baron binding. They went to roll and Eterna had won it. It was a party. Both of our tanks had gotten 2 big pieces. The following week it had happened again. We went to Molten Core and Baron Geddon dropped his binding. People were speechless. Was the Baron magic back? I mastered it straight to Sabaki and we were flexing our Baron bindings. Sadly, we never saw a Gar binding anymore in the soft reserve box and we had transitioned to GDKP. The first GDKP binding. I was hosting BBMC GDKP on Sunday at 2 PM and was on my main character, Johannes. GDKP raids is where everything goes for gold and at the end host takes a fee. Mine was 10% and then the pot is split amongst 40 people equally. We had the worst BVL pot ever. Everyone was memeing around that we should get a binding now because we deserved it. People wanted that fat gold and overall we were just joking around. We get to Gar and it drops. A Gar binding. At this point we had two big gold makers in the raid. SSL and Ponage Factor. They gotten to be friends through the bug and were always making jokes. Who was gonna get away with the binding? It got bid up to 20k and Ponage Factor said, "Look SSL, you can have it as I like you and I don't see the Baron binding dropping anytime soon." SSL told him thanks man and he received it. SSL also has two warriors already. One with a thunderfury and now with one binding. But hold on. It's not over yet. We get to Baron and a ton where now the Baron binding will drop because Ponage Factor passed. Then it happened. Another Baron binding in the same run as the Gar binding. Ponage Factor was super surprised and had to bid up SSL. He bid him up till 17k and there it was. SSL got both bindings in one run for 37k gold. The pot was looking hot and soon it went viral on Razorgore. A bit of time had passed and we had not seen a binding in a while. We had one of the biggest spenders ever in the raid. It was a warrior called Dead Gamer. If he was in the raid, he would buy any upgrade no matter the cost. We never knew how he farmed his gold, but one thing was for sure, he was there to spend. He outbidded SSL on a few items like Nefarian Axe for 7.4k plus and a Quick Strike Ring, 8k. We were doing BVL MC again and the pot was dire. So we were all joking around, well if the pot is bad, we will get a binding. That's just how it goes. Then we get to Baron, and we were right. Baron binding number 10. Everyone was like, nice, a good gold reward for playing. Dead Gamer started with a bid around 3 to 5k and nobody was bidding. I was on my rogue in this raid and I did not have any bindings on him yet. We were head to head, 1k bid after 1k bid. Eventually it got up to 25k and I was thinking a bit and thought, you know, 25k is a crazy amount. I will pass to that gamer. Here, you can have it. I thought to myself, I would just take the 10% and the 1/40th cut from it. He straight DM'd me after we traded that his final bid was in fact 25k. Then it was a big pause on the bindings. We had not seen any in a long time. Next was being run and after that was on farm. For most guilds, my AQ40 plus BBL plus binding runs, GDKP were popular again. There was a big spender rogue from Goons who was playing around 6 characters at the time. He had 2 rogues on Alliance side and 1 on Horde. Punch Me Baby was his name and he just wanted PvP gear in my pugs. The guy was a big bumper and always showed on time for any raid. He was with one of his rogues in my pugs and since Goons always had Gar bindings, he was hunting the Baron. Well there we were. I was on my rogue again and then the Baron binding had dropped that raid. It was him and me head to head for 1k increments against each other. I got him to 14k and again I just thought Nax is out, this is not worth it with me having still a third warrior without a Gar binding. He won it, but I don't think he ever got to complete it as there was not a lot of time left. Then the next week it happened again. Same raid, AQ40 BVL binding run. Another Baron binding. This was the second time it had happened 2 weeks in a row. Very mysterious. Nobody really wanted it and the bid was just at 3k. I told everyone fine, I'll bid 4k on my rogue. This was a steal and I had won it. By passing those other 2 times, I had secured 6 bindings in total across my 4 characters. Baron binding number 13 was mine. I never got to complete my other 2 thunderfurys, but I did try once a week. Close to the TBC coming out, maybe a few months, we had our last Baron binding. It went for 9k to a guy that still had none. He just wanted to have it. I sadly do not remember his name as he was quite new to the bugs and at that time he was a friend of a friend. In total of playing Classic for 2 years, I had seen 14 Baron bindings, 4 Gar bindings and 1 Sulfurous Hammer. Managed to complete 2 thunderfurys, 1 Sulfurous Hammer and have 2 Baron bindings spare. I very much enjoyed hosting all these raids and these stories and moments will always be with me. In terms of Season of Mastery, I'm gonna be rolling a mage and a warrior. I'll be trying to go for 1 thunderfury for my warrior and that is it. If you like these storytelling videos and want me to make more of them, drop it in the comments. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next Season of Mastery video. Have a good one.